first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining our Tasterclass today. My name is Jan and I'm the coordinator in Tangent on the program Creativity and Cultural Entrepreneurship. So our program will be running in September through Springboard. And just to give you an idea of what we do in the classroom, we wanted to run this little Tasterclass today with Gillian Roddie, who is one of our lecturers on the program. So you're all really, really welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I will be minding the chat box. If you have anything, feel free to ask any questions. I'll be around at the end of the session as well if you have any question. And in the meantime, I'll hand you over to Gillian. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. How are you, everybody? I'm just going to get myself set up and start sharing my screen. Can everyone see that? Just give me a quick thumbs up. Excellent, love it. Hi everyone, I am loving I can see music displays and microphones, and I can see art, and I can see all sorts of creative bits and pieces. So I know that I am amongst the company of experts here. So I'm thrilled to be here to chat to you today. We're going to get stuck straight in. Everybody has access to the chat box, and I invite you, first of all, to tell me what you think creativity is and what you think innovation is. We're all about the experiential learning here in Tangent. So we're going to just start as we mean to go on and get you engaged right from the off. What is creativity? And don't worry, there's no real wrong answers here. I'm curious to know what you think. What is creativity and what is innovation? Any ideas? Stick them down there in the chat box. I should have some holding music here. I did notice somebody who had an incredible microphone and a music display. I should probably invite them to turn on their microphone and give us a little bit of engaging music. Creativity, making stuff. Creativity, expressing yourself and your idea through a medium that you enjoy. Innovation, making good stuff. Creativity is making stuff and innovation is making good stuff. I like that. Experimentation. Any individual. Now, there's loads of lovely, lovely bits and pieces here. Fantastic. Innovation, the child of necessity, trying something new. Brilliant. As I said, there's no real right or wrong answers here, because in truth, creativity and innovation are still quite nebulous terms that we use. So I'm going to offer you one of the definitions that we have. Generally speaking, creativity is a new idea that brings value. Now, that can mean different things to different people. Like I said, it is still quite a nebulous idea. So if creativity is a new idea that brings value, creativity tends to be quite a cognitive process. It's kind of a process that invites potential. What if, and what if, and what if? Innovation then is the application of that creativity that usually results in a new process, service, or a product. So if creativity is the what if, innovation is what happens when. And over the course of these types of programs, this is what we try and explore. So what does that look like for us in practice? So Hasbro, the toy company, are now the primary makers of these, all for you, they're called, robotic companion pets that have been found to improve the quality of life for patients with dementia and Alzheimer's who are in long-term care. Now, a robotic cat or a robotic dog doesn't sound like much, but actually the innovation there is that it's been used, what was originally a toy is that it's been used in a totally different circumstance and has provided real world value. And they saw a resurgence of popularity during COVID, when people weren't able to interact with other people, they weren't able to, we had lost that sense of connection. The use of robotic companion pets showed a decrease in depression for those who were in long-term care homes. Another great idea And this is one of the favorites that we have in Tangent. So Doug Dietz worked for GE, and he was tasked with the problem of looking at MRIs and children's pediatric MRIs. So what was noticed under a variety of different healthcare settings is that children, when they were going to get MRIs, it causes huge amounts of distress for the individuals. Because you imagine, if you've ever been for an MRI, you'll know that it's not a particularly pleasant experience. If you're in any way claustrophobic or you don't like bright lights or loud sounds, they're noisy, they look really alien, they're really, really scary things. So you can imagine that for a child, that process is amplified. So what Doug Dietz did was he went on an incredible empathy journey to try and understand and ideate creative ideas and creative ways to tackle the problem of distress caused during MRIs for children. So yeah, and that's never mind the reason why they had to get the MRIs in the first place. As a result, what you'll find around the world is that in healthcare settings, pediatric MRIs very often have a theme attached to them. So the one here on the screen, is wonderful. It's pirates. And so children are now invited, and they have well-trained staff. They're invited to go on a journey, and it becomes an adventure rather than this really clinical and horrible, very alien type setting. So the creativity is where the ideas are born, and the application of those ideas is where the innovation happens. And the thing is that, you know, there's a lot of people now with this group in particular, with you guys coming on board with creative and cultural entrepreneurship, you are something of a biased group of people, because by very nature of the fact that you identify yourselves as working in the creative industries or adjacent to the creative industries, you in all likelihood already identify as slightly or very creative people. And if you can imagine, when we're talking to people who maybe don't consider themselves very creative, if I tell you that everybody in the world is creative, that idea doesn't tend to land very well. But here's the thing, we actually have evidence to show that everybody really and truly is creative by nature. So there was an incredible study done in the 1960s by a guy called George Lamb, and George Lamb had created a test used in NASA to identify the most innovative and creative of their engineers and their scientists. And what he did was he took that creativity test and he said, what would happen if I used this test or a modified version of the test on children just to see what happens? And that's exactly what he did. George Lamb used his NASA test with a group of 1,600 children, and the results were absolutely incredible. At age 5, 98% of all children tested scored genius levels of creativity. Those children were tested again at age 10 and age 15. And when the same test was applied to the general populace of adults, only 2% were found to have creative or genius creativity. So what that indicates to us is that creativity is actually something that we lose over time. It's not something that we learn how to do. It's something that we forget how to do as we get older and older. And for those of you who are going to join me on the course, this is something that I delve into a little bit during one of my classes. Why is that happening? What's behind that loss of creativity? And how do we tap back into that? So I love this idea that everybody is creative by their very nature. So what that means is all you need to do is tap back into something that you already have. And creativity is developed. So two more researchers, Kaufman and Begetter, they came up with this theory of the 4 C's of creativity, that when we're kids, what's happening is that we're developing these we have this mini C experiences. Every time we draw a picture or we figure something out or we build something with Lego, those are miniature experiences of creativity that affect us as individuals, and we become really proud of ourselves. Little c creativity, as we get older and a little bit more experienced, that's when we start to create actual things with creativity. So it might be learning how to bake, or it might be learning how to craft or be creative. It might be applying creative methodologies when you're in school or in work. And then as we get bigger again, and these are the ones that many of you will be able to speak to, Pro C, big C, is when we start applying our creative skills in a professional setting. So for any of you who are working in creative industries, you would probably be what we would consider to have developed Pro C creativity. And the big C creativity, that is the changing the world landscape of creativity. That's like Picasso and Cubism. You know, he developed a painting style that then went on to influence many around them. So there's different increments of creativity. But the really important bit is that we have access to at least two, if not three, of those levels of creativity. So it's exciting times. Now, here's the thing. Okay, Gillian, yeah, what are you talking about? We all know about what creativity is. We literally do it during our lives, during our everyday. What are you talking about? And that is a very, very good question, which many people ask me on a frequent basis. But here's the thing. You know what your creativity looks like within the boundaries of what you normally do. Like I said, there's somebody there who had a microphone and loads of music. They'll consider themselves creative within a particular field, or you might identify yourself as creative in a different way. And what we do in Tangent is we look at creative doing versus creative thinking, and we try and develop the creative thinking part. So you have an aptitude for creativity in certain settings. Now, how do you take that a little bit further and use it in other scenarios? And this is where the innovation piece becomes really, really important. So that is essentially what some of our courses, or what most of our courses are aiming to do, is to help you get confidence. You already, hopefully will have confidence in the skills and the aptitude that you already have. And how do you take that and apply it in different settings? Now, one of the things that you will have to get quite comfortable with in the classroom is getting comfortable with failure. Just out of curiosity, how many people on that, you can just use your hands up, or you can put it in the chat box. You know, how many of you would consider failure as being an integral part of you in terms of your aptitude for creativity? So in terms of however you express yourself creatively, how many of you just consider failure as being part and parcel of that process? Just curious to know. Yeah. So it's, yeah, there's a few hands, there's thumbs up going up, excellent. So failure is an integral part of who you are as a creative individual. How many of you feel that comfortable with failure in an academic setting? There's a couple of people. There's a couple of people, but not as many. Not as many. And that is part of the mindset shift. Not so much, Martin. Absolutely. Yeah, not so much. Not so much. That is going to be part of the frame shift, the mindset shift that you will find yourself undergoing when you take yourself into a classroom setting. And again, this is something that we will look at in more detail. And the difference here is that you're going to be surrounded by people, you know, peer-to-peer support, and also supported by Tangent staff. And absolutely, it is a part of daily life, and it's part of why we do what we do. But that doesn't mean that it's not a very arresting feeling. And we know that it is difficult because every time we have an assessment deadline, we see people becoming quite paralyzed with the fear of failure. And it is an entirely normal and human feeling. So it's one of the things that we kind of lean into right from the start. And again, particularly with you as a group of creatives, you take failure, you know, as part and parcel of what you do. Of course, you didn't just wake up one day and you were absolutely brilliant at your art, or your craft, or your creative outlet. You had to learn how to do it. And here's the thing, you're going to have to do something very, very similar in a classroom setting. You're going to have to learn to adapt to all of those mini fails on a daily basis. And that's not easy, but we're going to help you and we're going to support you. So part of that is understanding how, although you might be super duper confident in your particular creative sphere, it's going to look very, very different, again, in a very different framework with an academic framework. Part of that means that your creativity is not necessarily going to arrive on time. Again, curiosity. Anybody here, can you schedule your creativity? Like if you sit down, you put in your calendar from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. this Friday, I'm going to paint a beautiful picture and it's going to be absolute. That's exactly when it's going to happen. You know, next Thursday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., I'm going to write 3 chapters of my book. Does that happen to anybody? No, it's absolutely, just go away. Again, just talking nonsense. The same thing, absolutely, mates. Yeah, it's completely inconsistent. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on schedule. And again, that's something that you're going to find when it comes to being in a classroom setting. So again, we accept this. We completely accept this. We know it's going to, interestingly enough, one of the reasons why creativity very often hits in the shower, you know, you get those shower thoughts, or it can very often happen when you're out walking, or if you're driving, or it hits you at moments that you don't really notice. Part of the reason for that is that when you're doing, if you're in a shower is a great example. When you're showering, you're usually under hot water, unless you're one of those incredibly brave people who loves to do cold showers, and I have nothing but respect for you. Not my thing, absolutely not my thing, especially not at the moment. So one of the reasons why showers are great, the hot water relaxes us, it de-stresses us, but the very routine, think about it, you don't think about what you're doing in the shower. You go into automatic mode, the same way as you do when you're walking, you're just walking automatically, or when you're driving. And what's happening is that the executive function within your brain is being preoccupied, allowing your creativity to wander free. So if you want a really quick way to help encourage your creativity, it is literally that. Go out for a walk, and there's some really lovely studies that show that walking is an incredibly effective activity for creativity. If you need to, bring your phone so that you can talk to yourself and record notes. But there is a neurological reason why you are more creative when you're slightly preoccupied doing other things. But we do want to find ways that we can encourage that to happen. And here's one of them. I would like you right now to think of something really important that's happened in your life, important to you. Doesn't have to mean that it's been important to the world, but think of something very important that's happened to you in your life and describe it for me in 6 words. Just take a moment. We have time. I'm going to put up on the screen some of the prompts or some ideas. Think of something really important. Think of something that's important to you and describe it for me in 6 words and put it into the chat box. As an aside, that first one there on the left-hand side, for sale, baby shoes never worn, that is very often contributed to Ernest Hemingway, but it was not, in fact, Hemingway who wrote it at all. There is no record of Ernest Hemingway having written that, but most often attributed to him on the internet. And we all know what a bastion of truth the internet usually is. It is challenging, Marina. So what you're doing is you're flexing. What we're doing is we're restricting the opportunities here, and by doing that, you're having to be more creative in a roundabout sort of a way. So for anyone who's a writer not used to doing this kind of thing, met herself, love at first sight. Amazing, Martin. I would love to know more about that. Love it, Martin. Nothing cheesy about it at all. It's wonderful. Anyone else? So this is an example of one of the type of prompts that we can use, or one of the ways that we can flex our creativity skills. Keffel adventure, fish out of water. I received my doctorate in 2018. Everything is temporary, you will shine. Look at these. These are amazing. Moved to countryside, beautiful nature every day. Lost a parent, tons of questions to ask. They died before knowing me. First time I saw her face, just do it, fish a stream. Would anybody like to offer any thoughts about how you feel, or what are these 6-word stories doing for you? First, your connection, right? Any thoughts? They're very, I want to know more. I want to know so much more. I want to pull out one of these, any of these, and I want to just tell me a little bit more about it. Claire-Anne, did you want to come on for a moment and say hello?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I suppose writing it down in 6 words for me kind of made me think about the experience. I got a chance to work with an artist and create a dinner in a gallery. We actually did it 3 times, and it was one of the most difficult and frightening things I ever did. I had to create a kitchen. I had to work in a completely different way. And it was terrifying, and I was exhausted every time that we did it. But writing it down now today makes me think about all the positive aspects and gives me a little bit of space to have pride over something that I kept saying to my partner after I did it, I'm never doing this again. So it made me rethink how I viewed something that I was very frightened of doing at the time.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. And well done. That sounds like an incredible journey, Karen. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Melissa, it's really challenging. I never do things like this, and I'm finding it hard to process all the thoughts around an event and condense. Absolutely, Melissa. And it is going to be, these types of things are going to be challenging. Again, it's one of the things that when we meet again during the course, we're going to talk about exactly that this course is going to challenge you in myriad ways. And part of that is going to be that you're learning something new. If it wasn't difficult, you wouldn't learn anything. That's adult learning theory in a nutshell. If you found it easy, you wouldn't learn anything. So it's something to be aware of. This is going to be an incredible journey. It's going to challenge you and motivate you and make you think about things differently. But it's also going to be it's going to be difficult at times, and that's absolutely a-okay. The thing is, I guarantee you that everybody else is in the same boat, because it's meant to be a little bit difficult. But we can see here that something like, this restriction exercise, what it does is it forces you to think about something that we normally think about, all of those memories. How many memories did you have to sift through in a moment just to come up with that one 6-word story? All of that processing, all of that thinking about it. So restriction can actually produce huge creativity. It sounds like an antithesis, but it's a really, really effective way of doing it. And what's fabulous is that the output, all of those 6-word stories, every single person reading those will have a different interpretation. So you're promoting creativity with every single one of them. Again, I could go back and pick out one of those and find out, tell me more. I want to know more. What about it? What happened? What next? Yeah. So it's a really, really great little exercise. Okay. Another tool that we use. So this is what I mean about creative doing. You're all creative doers. You're very used to creatively doing within the comfort zone that you have established for yourself, or in some cases like Clara, in a completely new zone, which is fabulous to hear. But you are used to creativity looking at a particular way. And so that's one of the things that you might find very challenging. So one of the things that we can do to combat that is we reframe the problem. And this is something we do very, very frequently. Okay, I'm going to ask a maths question. I know it's not what you expected, but I promise you, this is not a trick question. What is the answer to the maths problem that I have on screen? So this is a problem. What is the answer to that? I promise you it's not It's not a trick question in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely. That is the answer. So right there, we have a problem that has a particular solution to it. Problem, solution. What happens if we reframe the problem? What happens if we look at it slightly differently? We turn it around in our heads and our hands and we go, what if I flip it? What if I look at this differently? What if I take a step back and I come at it from a different direction? Now, what's the answer? Many. Arguably, would it be as many as an infinite number? It depends on what your interpretation of mathematics is. Multiple ways to reach a solution, absolutely. And this comes back to that fear of failure piece again, is that, and it comes back to George Lamb's experiment, is that when you ask a child a question, like if you put a piece of paper in front of a kid and you give them some crayons or pens or whatever it is, there are infinite numbers of possibilities. But as we get older and as we go through formal education, we start to understand that there are right ways of doing things and there are wrong ways of doing things. And so this is how we unlearn creativity. And what we're used to seeing because of our formal education system is that first one. We're used to seeing the problem presented to us as 5 + 5 = something. We are not used to seeing the problem presented the second way. We're just not used to it. It's not something that comes easily to us. And the chances are that many of you kind of had to go, hang on, what? It's so alien to us. So this is another one of the techniques that we're going to introduce to you in various different ways, but it's this idea of coming at problems from different perspectives and in different ways. Turn it around, flip it around. What can we change as part of that? Another one. Now, if you have, I love my Lego and I love anything to do with kids. That's it, because spend a little bit of time with children and you really understand what creativity is, usually with sticky hands afterwards. How many, if you have 6 2x4 Lego bricks, those Lego bricks that are standing up, how many different ways can those 6 Lego bricks? It's not infinite, Kelly. There is a definitive number on this, but how many different ways? But I love your big wide open space thinking. How many different ways can you combine those 6 Lego bricks in different formations? How many different ways can those 6? 6 factorial. Anusha, come on, give us, don't mind that factorial. Put a number on it now. Put a number on it. Over, Muireann is right. It is over a million. It is over a million. So if it's over a million, somebody was looking up the internet. Decav is correct. There are almost 1 billion different ways of stacking those Lego bricks together. It was originally back in the 70s, when this problem came up, the Lego team came up with 100 million, 102 million, I think it was. But since then, a Danish mathematician used a computer program to work this out. The idea here, though, is that if you looked at those Lego bricks and thought in your head of the different ways, we will look at a problem within the limitations that we bring to it. We can't possibly sit here and think of 915 million different ways to do it. But the idea is that asking yourself, where are you not looking? Understanding that you have the limitations of your own perspective. So what can looking outside that offer? And this is where collaboration becomes incredibly important. I might be able to come up with 1,000 different iterations, But if I bring somebody else to the table, they may be able to come up with 1,000 other different, or a few hundred other different iterations. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to constantly push ourselves to think differently. We are a very, very solution-driven society. And that is one of the things that you will constantly be fighting against as you go through courses like this. Is you will want to jump to the solution every single time. When we're presented with a problem, I want to find the solution. But what we're going to do is sit in the problem a little bit further. So, you know, how is studying creativity and innovation? How does innovation and creativity in an academic setting, like how is it going to help you? So what we're going to do is help you to tap into, like I said, you're a bias sample. You're coming to the table with excellent creativity skills. Well, what we're going to do is help you to unwrap and unpack those a little bit and get you to think about, well, how exactly am I creative? What is it that I can do? How is my mind working? How can I apply that in different ways? What do I still need to learn about? What are my limitations? What are the things that I don't know about yet? Yes, that word becomes really important, yet. So you'll discover new ways of being creative and new ways of looking at things, and get comfortable with the idea that we're constantly going to be saying to ourselves, I didn't know that. Oh, that's new. You will say that to yourself a lot, and that's absolutely okay. We'll be providing you with creativity frameworks that you can then generate innovative ideas from. So it's not going to be a case of everybody just sitting around going, what if, what if, what if? There are really fantastic frameworks and methodologies, step-by-step processes that we can use to help to develop creativity and to then apply that creativity into workable processes, solutions, or services, products, etc., etc. So all of these frameworks are very, very real world applicable. You're going to learn so much from each other. Arguably, there will come a point in a time when people like me, the people who are teaching, we're somewhat redundant, because all we do really is we support you and guide you and empower you with the skills that you already have and give you frameworks to tap into yourself and the skills that you have. You will learn so much from each other. You will also at times annoy each other to bejesus. Again, that's entirely normal, because everybody's going to be coming at these things from slightly different perspectives. We will support you. We will help you with that. You will be challenged, inspired, and motivated in many different ways. And you'll understand how creativity and innovation is used in lots and lots of different settings, and how the world of creativity and innovation it's really a truly multidisciplinary world, inviting lots of people from different areas to come to the table and work together. There will be a significant amount of self-reflection, self-development, and self-improvement, because what you might have already found is that even just in this half hour that we've been chatting, some of the stuff that we've been talking about has caused you to sort of stop and pause and go, oh, okay. It might have been a little bit uncomfortable. It genuinely might have been uncomfortable. If it has, that's okay. But we will be inviting you to self-reflect around why that's the case. What is it that you are finding difficult? What are you finding challenging? How can you improve on that? What do you need to do to succeed? So there is an element of like reflection and self-development that underpins a huge amount of this, because it's so experiential in nature. It is going to be something that you find difficult at times. At the very minimum, doing this course is going to help you to develop skills that are absolutely sought after. So I work as I currently work with Tangent, but I also work as head of education in a finance-related organization, which doesn't really sound like it makes a huge amount of sense, but more than ever, soft skills and transversal skills are needed across the board. So it doesn't matter what your background is, essentially. The skills that you develop on this course are applicable across the whole spectrum of employment and work. I mean, analytical thinking, that first one, I'd argue that you do learn, or certainly if you have a bit of analytical thinking, you'll develop it. I haven't circled this just because we don't necessarily go into analytical thinking in any great depth, but it's there for the taking. You will absolutely develop creative thinking, your creative thinking. And like I said, what you're going to develop is you already have the creative doing. This is going to teach you creative thinking. So how do you take that skill that you have and apply it in different ways? You will develop resilience and flexibility and agility, because that is part of innovation. The ability to say, no, I'm not going to go straight for the solution. I want to sit in the problem. I want to learn how to fail. I want to fail better. And I'm going to pick myself up and do it over and over and over and over again. And how to change quickly, etc. Motivation and self-awareness. This is a part-time course. You're going to have, I think I saw somebody mention in the chat box that they have small kids. You're going to have family, you're going to have work, you're going to have all sorts of different things going on, and you will be learning how to manage your time and yourself with all of those other things going on. And it is going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little bit challenging at times, and that's okay. Like I said, the challenges that you will experience going through the course are experienced by the majority. Curiosity and lifelong learning. My whole life I've been involved in education, and I am a firm believer that education is a truly transformative tool that we have in life. And it's wonderful to see an emphasis on lifelong learning coming through from at government policy level. You will just feel better as a result of doing this course. You will feel incredible as a result of challenging yourself and putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. There is a significant element of this course that is being done online. Now, you can imagine the pre-COVID, this looked very, very different. We have all had to become much more comfortable with technology and with various different ways to be online and to bring ourselves online. But there are still going to be quite a number of new technologies that you won't have used before. You've probably never worked with the Trinity and the learning management system. That could be new, and interacting with people in a different way online. So there's going to be lots of things that you learn there. And empathy and active listening. Just to go back a slide, that piece that you can see on the bottom, the words empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and testing. So that refers to design thinking, which is one of the innovation frameworks that we very, very commonly used. At the core of that is the ability to empathize and to actively listening to your users, to your team, to the people around you. And if we go back to, where's my earliest example? This, like I said, Doug Dietz's incredible work around MRI technologies in pediatric settings, that came about as a result, and all innovative products are usually as a result of empathy and listening to who is going to be using it at the end. So we've come up to, I'll just stop my share there for a second. We've come up to the end of the presentation, and I wanted to throw the floor open and just see if anybody has any questions, or feel free to put something in the chat box. Or else I've just completely numbed everybody and you're all going, what was that? Which is also a perfectly normal response. FYI, no problems there. You are very welcome. You are very, very welcome. Lots more of that to come on the course. And I hope that you enjoyed it. Catherine, yes.
Hello, is the
I can hear and see you perfectly.
Oh, okay. This might have been mentioned online, but I'm frazzled from being online lately. We're moving house, a little bit stressed. So I just wanted to ask you, instead of searching for it, please, do you have an idea of the ratio of time that we will be gathering in person in Dublin versus online? A rough outline of hours or ratio of the time?
Jean, do you want to come in on that one as a coordinator?
Thank you, Gillian. Yeah, it'd be about 60% on site and 40% online.
Oh, 60-40, 60 on site. Is that once a month or?
It depends. You will have sometimes where you will have the whole week on site and then the following week online. It'll depend more on the module and the activities that is related to the course. So once you get your timetable, you will have the explanation for the whole academic year on it.
I'm impatient, aren't I? Thank you.
That's good. That's exciting. It's not a bad thing at all, Catherine. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Jean, there's a few questions coming through on related notes. So just clarify, all online or hybrid. So it's 60-40. What are do we have dates for recruitment? Do we know when people will be?
Yes, so I have here the link up. I have here the link, guys, for to apply on Springboard. We have until the 8th of August to apply. So the deadline is coming up soon. And then before the end of August, my colleague will be in touch with you to let you know if you got the spot or not. We have about 55 spaces available on the course. And that's it, more or less. Do you have any more questions? The course starts on the 20th of September. You have more details on the Springboard website with more dates and information on it. The classes are on Monday and Wednesday evening from 6 to 9, and then there will be 3 Saturdays on site. So 3 Saturdays in Dublin. It's mainly for presentations. There are exciting days where you all gather together and showcase the amazing work you've been doing. So it's lovely day Saturdays.
Brilliant. So Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 9 is for the in-person sessions. Brilliant. Just looking here, so swap on, don't have any creative background. Is this course suitable for technology professional? Absolutely. And again, we would welcome applications from people who are not necessarily, identify as part of creative groups. That would be a priority in terms of recruitment. But depending on you will always, like somebody with a technology background would bring amazing skills to the table for people who match creativity and technology, and it's fire. So absolutely, we encourage applications from all sorts of backgrounds, but there would be, for recruitment purposes, there would be a preference. But there are other courses in Tangent as well, so you can apply for those too that don't necessarily have the creative focus. Claire-Anne, design thinking is one of the frameworks that you will learn about as part of, so there's 3 modules on the course. The very first module is really around learning about creativity, and I'm going to address one of the questions that was there as well. The very first module is around learning creativity and innovation frameworks and problem solving. Number 2 is where the second module is where you learn the very basics of venture development. So it's the bare bones of developing out a business idea. And the third module is career pathways. It's looking at how do you take what you've learned and move forward with a career pathway in mind. So I noticed somebody asking there about practical parts of entrepreneurship like taxation. We wouldn't get, the course isn't going to go into those in huge detail, but would be able to signpost where you'd be able to get, for a lot of that very practical information, your local enterprise office is hands down one of the most supportive places that you can go. So the emphasis here really is around the sort of the creative areas of entrepreneurship as opposed to the practical elements. There are the building blocks of making a business, but if you want to take it further, there are lots of other supports that you can get. Any other questions? Melissa, if you don't have a degree, you can still apply under recognition of prior learning. It's referred to as RPL. So we do have a number of places available for RPL candidates. And if you check the Tangent website, there's a little bit more around that. You're so welcome, Chris.
We have, if you want, guys, tomorrow we have 2 ACU application sessions. So I just put the link here in the chat box. So tomorrow at 1 and at 7, if I'm not wrong, where we go through the application process, and our student recruiter, Una, will be there. So any question related to your application through Springboard, she'll be able to give you loads of details. and she has a little presentations, and then the floor is open for any question related to that. So feel free to definitely jump in tomorrow at 1 or at 7, and I've just put the link in the chat box here. As your application is recorded, I'm not 100% sure even. I can check that, but you can also send us an email to ask about it if you want. There's no problem at all. I'll just put our email address in the chat box as well, okay? So the timetables will be sent to the students once you get your application done, but basically it starts on the 20th of September, Monday and Wednesdays evening, and 3 Saturdays, and everything will be confirmed once you get the application confirmed through Springboard. And you're welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Just answering to all the thank you and the guys who have to leave, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, folks, and the very, very best of luck with your applications. And I am looking forward to seeing many of you in class in a few months' time. Can't wait. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Mind
thank you. And see you
yourselves.
maybe tomorrow. And thank you, Gillian. It was lovely. Brilliant.
So welcome.
Thank you so
So
much.
welcome. My absolute pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
folks.
you so much.
No, absolutely nothing.
Gillian, I had a quick question. I don't know
Sure.
if you were able to look at the chat. So I'm actually looking to start a social enterprise.
Sorry, Anusha, I'm struggling to understand you. My apologies. There's a lot of...
Sorry. So,
No, it's
yeah,
okay.
there's a little bit of, I'm sitting in a communal space, so you might hear.
No
people.
problem at all. No problem.
Okay.
No, so I'm looking to open a social enterprise with a creative focus. So I'm just wondering if this is a good fit or if there's another program which is a better fit.
Really fun.
Anusha, I'd say it's either this one or innovation and enterprise development. One or the other of those will be, I think there is more of an emphasis. Put it this way, the thing with this, and I'm saying this as one of the people who designed both the courses with the intent, who was the persona we had in mind. With creative and cultural entrepreneurship, there is something of an understanding and an acceptance that people have their idea or their product when they're coming into the course. Somebody is coming in, they come from a music background, they want to develop something around music. So product development or the opportunity recognition piece, there isn't as much focus there at all on this course. If you have an idea and you're coming to the table with an idea, great, that's fantastic. Innovation and enterprise development then is for people who would perhaps have more of a generalized background. They know that they want to become entrepreneurs, or they love the idea of innovation, or they want to be intrapreneurs within an organization, but they don't necessarily have the skills, or they don't have the product or the ideas, and we help them to develop those ideas in-house. So there is more of an emphasis on kind of business development because that's where it tends to go. So I would suggest it's really having a think about who would you want to be surrounded by on the course. Is being surrounded by people who are coming from creative backgrounds, will that help with your social innovation idea? Or is it going to be, would exposure to a peer group that are coming from marketing or retail or academia or lots of different, would that be more suited? So have a think about, and then it might come down to very practical things like, is there a timetable that suits you better? There's both of the courses there's huge similarities between them, but there's also difference between them, and neither one is better in your case. I would suggest it's about having a read of both and thinking, which of these groups would help me to develop what I want to do.
Right. Okay. Because I think with me, I already have the idea. I mean, the community is already set up, and we already have started to work on some of these pieces. So it's more so about developing this into a social enterprise at some point, and more so, yeah.
There is, as I'm thinking now, there is on innovation and enterprise development, there is more work that's done about customer journeys. And I think that could be really beneficial to what you're doing. So if you have your idea, and you would have the opportunity during the course, you can use your own ideas and essentially, use them as proof of concept, in your assessments. Now, I would also be at pains to say that just because your assessment, if you get feedback from your judge or from your marker about something, that's not to say that, you know, what you get in an academic assessment, you were assessed on academia, not in real world practice, if you get me. So it's, you know, it's not to say that there's direct application, but yeah, there's a lot of work. Opportunity generation recognition, module 2 in innovation and enterprise development, a lot of work around customer bases, customer journeys, opportunity mapping, and that could be really useful for what you want to do.
Okay, let me have a think, because I also, from a I think environmental perspective, I would like to be surrounded by people who are doing more creative things, because I think that will also, that's kind of the focus of, is to build community through creative arts. So it makes more sense to do the cultural entrepreneurship rather than, it's less business and more innovation, I guess. That's it.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Hope that helps. Thanks so much for joining us, Anusha.
Thank you, Gillian. Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much.
Anita, I hope this helps us on your question, the answers that Gillian shared with us.
Kelly, did you want to ask a question?
Sorry, yeah. So so am I on the right one then, Gillian, with because I already have the product and the idea, and I know what the finished looks like, but it's just the steps to get there.
Yeah, there would be, I'd be slightly reluctant to say that you definitely have it. The chances are, you know, regardless of which course you choose, that's likely to change significantly as you go through your academic journey, just, you know, by virtue of the fact that you'll be applying various different kind of testing of it. Again, Kelly, have a think about, I'd suggest having think like, who is it that you want to be surrounded by, you know, and it depends on the product and so, both of the.
Sorry, Gillian, I have a podcast and a website geared towards women and educating them. And I've already started a series called The Bullied Brain and What Happens to Our Brains When We're Bullied. And it's educational. And so which one should I do?
I can't tell you.
All right.
I can't tell you which one to do. There would be pros and cons. You know, in creative and cultural entrepreneurship, there would be people who are likely involved in sound, music, you know, those kinds of industries. There is more product and service sort of development as part of innovation and enterprise development. That will be entirely up to you. I mean, both courses involve the nuts and bolts, the marketing, the, you know, how do you build a business, etc., all that stuff. So the USP on the innovation and enterprise development one is that the opportunity generation and recognition, essentially testing your idea. Is it actually a real idea? Does it have worth? Does it have value? You know, is it going to work?
Yeah, that was a brilliant taster. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So
very
glad you enjoyed
exciting.
it.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all.
Bye. I think you're still muted, Kelly. I don't know if you're talking with us. You're muted at the moment.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm just getting used to technology. Just a quick question. Is this the first year that CCE has ever been run?
Fifth edition.
It's the fifth iteration, yeah.
Okay. And after the application deadline, which is on the 8th, how soon will you find out, or is that just depends?
It takes about 2 weeks to have, like, first of all, you get an answer in case documents are missing. And then more or less 2 weeks. It depends on the number of applications we're getting, and because we're running a few courses at the same time. It's September, so it would really depend on the amount of application we're receiving. Time to review all of them, and if students are appealing, do not have the studies, and then they do only with the work experience, then you might have an interview with our student recruiter. It really depends on the amount of work we have than anything else, but more or less 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for that session. It was great.
Thanks for joining us, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Gillian, thank you very, very much.
You are so welcome.
It was really nice. I really want to come in your classes now. I like going